afternoon, everybody. Happy Saturday, and welcome to a little bit of hardwood action over here on Run Pure Sports. I'm Eric Crain. We got Glock. We got Bobby. Glock, how are you doing on this Saturday?
Doing all right, Crain. If I sound a little nasally, it's because I'm a little congested. But, as always, we're going to proceed with the winners as usual on a Saturday. And, I don't know. I had a couple bones to pick. I don't know with who, but I don't know if you played the DFS slate yesterday. But, man, I know, Bobby, you did. But that was probably one of the most tilting slates I've ever played in my life. Obviously, if you guys played it, if RPS played it, most of us played it for the backload. We expected SGA to be out. And then obviously in turn, in theory, you would think that makes, Josh Giddey a strong play. He ends up only playing 24 minutes for some odd reason. Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. out for Houston. You would think Alperen Sengun is in a smash spot. He only plays 24 minutes last night. So I guess 24 was the magic number that these guys were playing last night. And then on top of that, you get the news that Paul George is on a minutes limit. They literally go and play one of the highest scoring games of all time. Paul George plays 41 minutes, but sits out the second overtime, I guess because he hits his minutes limit, which was at the time 41 minutes, which is actually insane. So still a little tilted from last night, but, it's daily fantasy sports. Today is a new day and ready to break it down with you guys.
I'm happy to get back into it. I'm also happy I skipped yesterday. So it sounds like I picked a really good day to take off. Bobby, I'm guessing you didn't take a day off because you never take a day off. Every day Bobby's there bringing the winners on Run Pure Sports. Bobby, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I got my dick kicked in by Sengun and Josh Giddey last night along with Glock, 24 minutes apiece. Makes sense that the Thunder could make a play-in spot and SGA is out. So why not only play Giddey 24 minutes in a close game? Makes total sense. So, yeah, yesterday was a frustrating slate. Felt like definitely got some stuff right, but then also like my highest exposed guys were Josh, Giddey, Jordan Poole, and Sengun. So, yeah, it was an absolute drubbing for me.
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but you know what? It's a new day. It's a new dollar. We're going to go back and crush it a little bit today. And guys, we're going to go game by game. And of course, if you're watching, you know the drill by now. Click that like button. Click that subscribe button. It helps us out over here at Run Pure Sports. And we just really bleep and appreciate it. So go ahead and do that for us. Let's go ahead and get right into the games because we got a short 6-game slate. It's a slate where if you're winning money early, you might not be that thrilled because the late night hammer is going to be something that we're going to have a lot of interest in tonight. But let's go ahead and kick it off with Miami at Charlotte. It's a 228.5 point total. Miami 5.5 point favorites. And for the Heat, Kyle Lowry, he's out, which means more usage for Jimmy Butler, more usage for Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, of course, in a smash spot. And Kevin Love, if he draws the start again, he's going to be somebody we play. Glock, I'm going to kick it to you, man. This Miami team, little bit of interest here. Not a ton, but a little bit. What about for you?
Yeah, so I think you hit it on your last sentence there. Obviously, I think Kevin Love is the premier play from this game if he gets the start, right? A lot of people, I think he was actually under-owned last night. I think he came in around like 50% in most contests. I suspect it's going to be way higher today. I mean, last night, I think it was because it was a Friday night. People didn't really want to react. The game was kind of after lock, so I don't think people were paying that much attention. But obviously, if he starts today, this game is kicking off our slate. And I would probably just lock button Kevin Love. I know the Miami guys, they did get blown out last night. So if you're looking at the minutes and that's kind of concerning to you, I would take that into account. Obviously, today, you suspect that, they'll be able to keep it competitive with a bad Charlotte Hornets team. So definitely Kevin Love is going to be a staple in my lineups tonight. Obviously, that's no surprise. He's going to be probably the highest owned player on the slate, if he starts, that is. And then, on the other plays on Miami, Bam Adebayo, I think, is probably my favorite play in tournaments. Obviously, bigs for Charlotte is something that we've emphasized in the past and recently. I'm not really a Bam guy, so I'm not going to jam him in. But obviously, if you have enough salary for him, 8.8K, I don't mind it at all. Center's absolutely loaded tonight. So I do suspect we're going to see a lot of double center builds. And I think you mentioned the other viable guy, Tyler Hero. He's been kind of up and down, but his price is pretty cheap. And, Charlotte does not play defense whatsoever. So I would not be surprised if I saw one or two Miami pieces optimal. So definitely want to get my exposure for the Miami side here.
What about you, Bobby? Are you playing these Miami guys? Because Kevin Love, I mean, like Glock says, he kind of feels like a lock button to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough not to want to just lock button him at that price tag, especially with the Charlotte matchup. I mean, he put up 20 DK yesterday, and it was a blowout, and he didn't score a single
Didn't score a point,
so,
yeah.
And he still got 20 DK points. So, yeah, Kevin Love looks fantastic. He's definitely my favorite play in that first game. Tyler Hero looks pretty solid too. I mean, definitely his minutes look especially good with Kyle Lowry out. So I like him. Outside of that, though, I mean, I think you could throw in like a Jimmy or a Bam as a one as well in this good matchup, but I don't think I can go to anyone on the other side for Charlotte. I think it's basically Kevin Love and move on for me for at least like my main team.
You know, PJ Washington is questionable for Charlotte. Glock, if he was out, would that change anything for you as far as looking at these Hornets?
Yeah, I mean, I probably think Charlotte side is a little more in play. Obviously, I'm not going to force it in, right? And like jamming correlation here. Like if I have Bam and Kevin Love, I'm not going to like force in a LaMelo, but I do think it's interesting. Obviously, with PJ Washington doubtful, that would raise the minute ceiling on a lot of the Charlotte guys. Obviously, guys like LaMelo Ball, he would be my favorite for sure. I think he's out almost averaging a near triple double in his last 3 games since the All-Star break. So I think he's a great play, especially, we'll talk about it later, but a guy like Ja Morant is popping a lot right now. And if you just spend up for $400 more, obviously Miami's a tougher matchup, but LaMelo is going to be lower owned. So I do think he's interesting from the Charlotte side. And yeah, if PJ Washington's out, you would think they probably just slide in Kelly Oubre, right, Bobby? That would be my guess. Obviously,
kind of what I lean to.
Yeah, Kelly Oubre, he's still priced out to the gills, 6.8K, so I don't think he'd be in play. But I think it'd boost the main guys like a LaMelo, Terry Rozier. And then Gordon Hayward's fairly cheap as well. It feels kind of chasey to play him after last night, but maybe the old Hayward's back. So I don't know. I don't mind the Charlotte side as much as Bobby, I don't think.
Yeah, Washington, PJ Washington's currently doubtful. So if he misses, I mean, Bobby, I know you said he didn't have any interest in these Charlotte guys. Is that going to change if Washington is ruled out?
I mean, I was already anticipating him to be out. I think Gordon Hayward slides up to the power forward spot. So, I mean, I think that puts some of those guys a little bit more in play. And I don't mind LaMelo's price tag in particular, but just looking at the projections early in the day, like only person projected for 5x value right now is Nick Richards, backup center, which centers can be loaded, so you're not going to be interested there. I just think with how healthy Charlotte is, it being a pace down spot and how good other spots are on the slate, I'm just going to hope that this game soaks up a little bit of ownership on the Charlotte side, and I'm going to move on. If I were MMEing or playing 20 max, I don't mind getting to like one piece probably max on the Hornets. I mean, I had set a rule if I was playing 20 max today, and I only want one Charlotte Hornet on my team. But you could grab one. I don't hate that if you're playing a bunch of lineups. But if you're playing 1 to 3 lineups, I would just X out this team.
Andrew in the chat, he wants to know, can you play Love and Bam together? And the answer is absolutely yes. Let's talk about Indiana and Orlando, 229.5 point total. Orlando, 2.5 point favorites at a home. And Glock, we got a clean injury report here, not something we're used to seeing in February in NBA. I have very little to no interest in this game. Are you playing anybody here?
Yeah, I mean, generally these two teams, like if they were playing anyone else in the league, I wouldn't target it. But man, like it feels like anytime you have a team that's going up against the Pacers, you kind of want to get some exposure. Obviously, I'm not going to super prioritize the Magic because I feel like they just play a bunch of guys, right? Like you have Markelle Fultz starting, and then, Jalen Suggs can come in. If he gets hot, he's going to steal away Fultz's run. If Cole Anthony comes in and he gets hot, he's going to take away from Suggs and Fultz's run. So it's like a lot of hot hand approach from the Orlando side, which I don't love. But like I said, man, I wouldn't be surprised to see at least one piece optimal from this game. So I do feel like we need to, pick a few pieces at least from each side from a GPP perspective. So yeah, I think Indiana's pretty clear for me. Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner are my clear favorite plays in tournaments from the Indiana side. And then Orlando, Wendell Carter Jr. I'm seeing Franz Wagner pop a lot, which I don't really like, and he's projected for like 20% ownership. But I think he's a fade I'll be okay with today. We'll talk about some pivots later. But yeah, Wendell Carter Jr., Paolo Banchero, he hasn't been in the best form as of late, but Indiana doesn't play much defense whatsoever. So I think Wendell Carter Jr. and Paolo are in play for tournaments. But I don't love it, and I'm not going to force it in for sure.
Am I the only one that's surprised that this total's as low as it is?
I mean, Magic don't play at like the fastest pace, so I'm not shocked.
Okay.
But it's an okay total. I wouldn't be surprised if it were a titch higher. But I feel like it's about right.
So, Bobby, in this game, obviously the injury report's clean. Glock likes one or two guys. I don't know. If I was MMAing, like I would play, probably max one of these. But I don't know. I don't like this game. What about you?
I don't love this game. I like a couple pieces. I think that I like Paolo Banchero's price. I don't mind him as a one-off in this game. I know he hasn't been great form-wise recently, but it's a really good matchup, and the price tag's pretty nice. So I don't mind getting to Paolo. I also don't mind getting to Wendell Carter, or honestly, I don't mind getting to Markelle Fultz on the Magic side. Again, single entry MME. I mean, single entry 3-max. I probably want to play one player max on the Magic or the Pacers. I could be okay with 2 Magic just because it's a pace up spot for them playing Indy, and I like a couple of the pieces more, but I don't have a ton of interest in this game. Franz Wagner is his price tag feels a little cheap, but I can't remember last time he had a ceiling game, and like they're just mixing in so many other guards, and you've got just so many guys in Orlando that it's just hard for a lot of these guys to have like a total ceiling game. When they're pretty healthy too. And for some reason, Aaron Nesmith is always projecting for 10+% ownership on the Indy side. And I'm never interested in him, especially if he's going to be popular at all. So not a ton of interest on the Indy side. If you wanted to play Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton as a one-off, I don't hate it, but it's not going to be something that I'm trying to jam in by any means.
All right, let's talk New Orleans at the Knicks. A 223-point total. The Knicks 3.5-point favorites. Of course, Zion, as he has been for most of his career, he is out. Brandon Ingram, he's gone over 40 in 5 of his last 7 games. 8,500 for Brandon Ingram. He's chucking the ball. Bobby, I'm going to start with you this time. It's tough to prioritize Ingram on this slate, right? Because we want Nikola Jokic, and we want maybe some Ja Morant. We want some other guys. We want Keldon Johnson. Like, it's tough for me to spend up on Ingram. Is it tough for you to spend up for Ingram?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't mind the price tag. I think that he's an okay play. It's more so the type of build. I know we'll get to this game, but I'm going to be very heavy on the Spurs and Jazz game. And if Brandon Ingram fell as the last guy that fit my lineup, I wouldn't mind it. That's how I feel about a lot of the guys on the Pelicans, and Ingram, McCollum. If I landed on them as my last guy in, I wouldn't hate it. Josh Richardson started recently and been pretty good for the Pelicans, so I think those are just a few spots on New Orleans. If I fell there on my last guy, I wouldn't hate it, but I'm not gonna prioritize them. And on the Knicks side of things, I mean, I like Jalen Brunson's price, to be honest, at 8.2K. That's pretty nice, and I think that's a decent matchup with the Pelicans. So I like Brunson as a one-off, and the rest of the starters should continue to play pretty big minutes, but I think that Harden and Barrett both look just okay with both of them there. And I mean, Randall was on fire the other day and should play pretty big minutes. So, I mean, it's mostly, a couple of the studs on the Pelicans look okay. Josh Richardson is a value option, and then Brunson's my favorite play in this game as a whole.
Glock, is it weird to play chalk Josh Richardson?
I mean, it feels a little better to play him when he's starting, which was the case last slate. When he was coming off the bench in chalk, man, any chalk option that comes off the bench is not a fun experience, that's for sure. So I will say chalk Josh Richardson. If he starts, we don't know if that's going to continue or not, but obviously if he does start, I think you can lock him in. I think tonight we don't have too much value, really. Like, we're kind of scarce for value, so you'll see a lot of like mid-range builds. And in order to get different, if you want to play like a double stud build, like with a Jokic and Ja later, which we'll talk about, you'll have to sprinkle in some of these cheaper guys. And obviously, if Josh Richardson does start, I do like him as a value play. And then, I think for the rest of this game, I kind of am going to treat it like Indy Orlando, where, if you have that last spot, you love everything about your team, and then you have that 8.5K for Brandon Ingram or Jalen Brunson, I'm completely fine with plugging them in. I don't think I'm going to be correlating this spot whatsoever. Like, making sure I get a Jalen Brunson and Brandon Ingram on the other side. I probably won't do that, but like Bobby said, kind of if you have a last spot and you land on them, totally fine with it. Julius Randle put up like a great DeMar DeRozan-esque line last night with like 44 raw points or whatever, and absolutely nothing else. So I don't mind him in tournaments, obviously, either. But I'm not going to prioritize any of these guys. It's going to be more so last in fillers. But I think the game environment will be good. It should be a good game to watch for sure.
We mentioned RJ Barrett briefly, and like I wanted to play him at 5,700, and then the minutes are inconsistent. Maybe he gets 35 minutes, maybe he gets 30 minutes, maybe he gets 24 minutes. We don't know. The problem is, even in the games where he's been getting 33, 34 minutes, he still ain't getting there. Glock, I see you nodding your head, man, and I'm just going to hope you agree with me because it makes me feel smart.
No, yeah, I agree. I really feel like he's the most volatile one. Like, he's the first guy to get benched, I feel like. Obviously, Randall has become the secondary alpha. I think Brunson's the alpha of the Knicks now. No bias from being a Mavs fan, but yeah, I think it's Brunson and Randall's team now. And then that third guy is like, it really depends on who gets hot. Like, if Josh Hart comes in, gets hot, he's going to get the run. If Quickly comes in, he's going to get the run over Barrett. So, yeah, I think it's really Brunson and Randall's team. And then although RJ Barrett's price tag looks a little enticing, kind of like that Franz Wagner range, it's not something I'm going to be messing with for sure.
All right, let's move on to a game that should be a lot of fun. It's Denver at Memphis, 235.5 point total. The Grizzlies, 2-point favorites. Aaron Gordon, he's going to be missing for Denver. Steven Adams remains out for the Grizzlies. Bobby, I'm going to start with you because I know we're playing guys in this late game, but this is kind of my second favorite game to target. I like the idea of playing John Joker together. It's tough to fit because there's not a ton of value. But Bobby, is that a build that you're looking at today?
I think it's an interesting way to look at trying to play both of them. And I mean, if you wanted to forego Jokic and play Ja, we'll talk about a couple of the centers later in the game. I mean, you could play a couple mid-range centers and Walker Kessler and Zach Collins later, or play like a value center and make it work to get Ja in there. But if I had to pick between Ja and Jokic, I'm prioritizing Jokic despite how good there's some of the other center plays are on the slate. And I'd say this is probably my second favorite game on the slate as well. Pretty high total and some good plays in this game. I mean, on the Nugget side of things, we saw Jokic go off last time. And with Aaron Gordon out, I mean, there's just a little bit more usage to go around for Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray in particular. Michael Porter Jr. always seems to kind of have his minutes capped since he's dealt with so many injuries around like 30, 32 minutes. And at that 6K price tag, it's a decent matchup. I could see him getting there. But I'm pretty much just interested in Jokic and Murray on the Nugget side of things, Jokic being my favorite play in this game. And if, I don't know, I mean, regardless of whoever plays center and guards Jokic, I mean, if they start Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr., I think I can see Triple J guarding Jokic and definitely getting in foul trouble.
I can't touch Triple J today.
Yeah, almost 8K, and I mean, it's hard to predict foul trouble, but this just seems like a prime spot for him to have 2 fouls in like the first minute and a half and hit the bench for Aldama.
You're right. It's hard to predict foul trouble, but if we could predict it, Jaren Jackson against Nikola Jokic seems like the one place where we could say, yeah, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident saying that. Yeah. I could definitely see that happening. So it's just, especially at that price tag, hard to get there. Dylan Brooks, I can't stand playing Dylan Brooks. I don't care if he's 4.1K. I'm not interested. I hope he's 15% owned like it looks like he is right now. And Brandon Clark, if he's not guarding Jokic at that price tag, I think is kind of interesting. So I like the game environment. So I wish that I liked a few more pieces from this game, but it's pretty much Ja, Brandon Clark, Jamal Murray, and Jokic for me in this one.
Glock, what do you got for us between Denver and Memphis?
Yeah, I'm pretty lockstep with Bobby. I mean, man, this Grizzlies team has just been getting absolutely dominated interior. I'm seeing Jokic like under 20%. I feel like obviously we don't have like smash value today, but man, if it were me, like, and I was MMEing, I would get super overweight on Jokic. I think this is just like a super smash spot for him. If you just go through like the last 3 games, of teams going against Memphis, like everyone remembers what Embiid did, right? He went 27 points, 19 rebounds, 6 assists, had like 5 blocks, and he shot like 20% from the field. Like it was absolutely absurd. He could have had a 100-point fantasy game easily if he hit 50% of his shots. And then you go to the game before that. It was Utah Jazz versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Kelly Olynyk went for 28 and 14. Walker Kessler in that same game went for 10 and 14. So that's 2 double-doubles on the bigs. And then the game before that, the Boston Celtics played Memphis, and Robert Williams went 10 and 16 for a double-double. And then Al Horford also went for 16 points and 9 rebounds, which is almost basically double-double as well. So, yeah, point is Memphis has absolutely no interior defense. And Jokic, he's probably going to be the 3-time MVP. I'm going to lock him in and jam him in as much as I can tonight. And then obviously in lineups where I don't have Jokic, I want to make it a priority to have Jamal Murray, obviously. Looks like he's going to be loaned as well. John Morant doesn't play any defense. So love the 2 studs on the Denver side. Probably not going to play any secondary dudes. And then, yeah, on the Memphis side, I'm kind of hoping that they do start Brandon Clark at the 4 and just play Jaren Jackson at the 5. But I wouldn't be surprised if they start Xavier Tillman either, just to soak up some usage and fouls against Jokic. Tillman actually did have better success against Embiid in that game and produced pretty well. So keep an eye on that starting lineup. I actually like Brandon Clark a lot if he starts at the 4. Obviously, he won't have the task of guarding Jokic. So he would probably be my favorite Memphis play if he starts. And then, yeah, John Morant, if you could fit him in. It's coming off a really bad game against Philly. And this is the number 1 and 2 seeds in the Western Conference, right? Obviously, Denver's in way, way better form than Memphis. But Memphis has something to prove, man. Like, they've been kind of reeling in a way. And the Sacramento team, the Clippers, the 3, 4, 5 seeds, 6 seeds in the West are trying to creep up. So Memphis needs to play well tonight. I'll definitely have my popcorn ready for this one.
I'm just getting my lineup and making sure that I put Ja in and making sure that I put the Joker in. And you know what? I know center's loaded, right? Like, I fully understand that all the values at center. And, all the optimizers, that's why Joker's going to be low owned, because all the optimizers are going to spit out 2 cheap centers and figure it out. If I can get a low-owned Joker against Memphis, though, like, all right, whatever happens, happens. If I lose, I lose. I can live with that. But what I can't live with is watching Joker go for 80 and saying, you know what, he was a pretty easy play. Why didn't I just click the button? That's what I'm going to be doing tonight. All right, let's talk Boston and Philly. Maybe a better real-life game than a fantasy game. 225.5-point total. Boston, 1.5-point favorites. And, we got Boston healthy here. Philly, they're pretty healthy. This is one of those games, Bobby, that I'm going to enjoy watching as a real-life game. But for fantasy, I don't know. Not a lot of interest for me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm basically crossing this game off for fantasy. I mean, you can certainly play Tatum, Harden, and Embiid, like any of the studs in this game. Like, sure, you can play them as a one-off, and I don't hate that by any means. But it's going to be very hard for me to be prioritizing anyone in this game. So, I mean, for me, it's pretty much if I land on one piece here and they fit my build, or I've got a strong lean on Harden, or like Jason Tatum is someone that I want to play, then, maybe I'd go there, but that's pretty much it for me.
I don't think Maxey or Tobias at their price tags is the craziest play, but again, that's sort of as a last piece in. I got 5,300. All right, well, I have to choose between those 2 guys. Glock, are you playing anybody from this game?
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey's coming off the bench was a little concerning, and he's projected for ownership. So obviously, I think he's a better play when he's unowned coming off the bench. And if you know me by now, banking on chalky bench guys to come in and nuke is definitely not my favorite thing. I mean, last night I couldn't even get starters right that play normal runs. So yeah, I think from this game, it's like your contrarian spend up options will come from this game, right? Like, so if you are considering Jokic, his direct pivot would be Joel Embiid. And then obviously a John Morant pivot would be, James Harden. Obviously on the opposite side in Boston, you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown as spend up options. Obviously I prefer Tatum the most out of him and Jaylen Brown. But yeah, I think I probably have the least interest in this game, of any game on this slate, to be honest. Obviously from a viewer's perspective, it's going to be great, right? I think the NBA kind of got lucky where, 2 of the top Western Conference teams are battling it out today. And then two of the top Eastern Conference teams are battling out today. But obviously, if you're just in it for DFS purposes, you don't really care. So I think this game you can cross off. But I think from a contrarian perspective, if you aren't stacking up Denver, Memphis, maybe you can think about doing some stacking in this game. Maybe like an Embiid and Tatum, or Embiid, Jaylen Brown, something like that is a little interesting to me. But if you're playing one build, I'd probably not get into it.
Yeah, the chat says DeAnthony Melton looks good. Okay.
He's another guy. He's a 3.5K starter, and that's the case you could make for him. Obviously, like if you look at his minutes lately, they're super volatile, and there's a reason why Maxey is projected for so much ownership, because he comes in and he takes all of Melton's run, and it's really hot hand effect, right? Like you look at Melton's last 5 games, 19 minutes, 14 minutes, 21 minutes, and then 34 minutes in a game he actually played well, and then 13 minutes where he sucks. So like 4 out of his last 5 games, he's been under 21 minutes or less, and he hasn't played good whatsoever. So like definitely if you were MMEing, Max 1, Melton and Maxey 100%, those guys negatively correlate like I don't even know. So not in love with it. I think you can get away with other better plays at that position. But yeah, chalky Melton where you have a risk of Maxey coming in and taking his run, I'll probably pass personally.
I mean, last guy in a slate where we're struggling to find a lot of value, I get it. It's just, I'm not going to feel good about it. That's one of those things that, if I was going to watch the game because I want to enjoy watching it, I might just turn the game off at that point, because if I find myself rooting for the Anthony Melton, that does not sound like a fun Saturday night.
You know what does sound fun though, Crain? If you do play him and he starts off the game and he gets like 5 steals right off the bat from like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
That would be fun. That would absolutely be fun.
Are we predicting foul trouble in 5-stock games?
I'm just projecting his upside game, Bobby. Like, that's Melton. If he's doing well, he's stealing, he's, doing a little bit of swishing and dishing. So, I'm just trying to look on the positive side of it.
We are really desperate for value. Like, we're really desperate for value. But you know what? Hey, the 5 steal games happen. Let's go. All right. Let's also talk our last game on the slate, our favorite game on the slate, and what should be your favorite game on the slate. It is the Spurs at the Utah Jazz. It's a massive 240-point total. The Jazz, big old 10.5-point favorites at home. And for San Antonio, Devin Vassell, he's still out. Trey Jones is questionable. Jeremy Sohan is back. Malachi Branham might be in play if Jones misses. Devontae Graham, if he starts, like Bobby, you alluded to it earlier. This is a spot that we're going to have a lot of guys from this game.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have a lot of guys from this game. I think my placeholder right now has either 5 or 6 guys from this game.
Wow.
I'm going to be very, very heavy on this game. I think it's by far the best game on the slate, and it's just not even close. I think that part of my thought process on this too is I think Kelly Olynyk sits. I mean, you've got 2 teams that are tanking. I think that Sohan comes back for the Spurs too, but he probably plays limited minutes. And I thought I saw that Trey Jones has already been ruled out. So,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he's out, and Keldon is questionable actually. So.
Yeah, he got downgraded too. So like, there's just like I love Branham, I love Devontae Graham, Zach Collins on the Spurs side of things. I know that AP's got him in his early core. He's got Charles Bassey in his early core. So, I mean, Charles Bassey, if you're looking for value, he's not projected for much ownership. I think that he's absolutely in play for value and can get there in, 20 minutes or even less than 20 minutes. I mean, if Zach Collins got in foul trouble, I guess, that could help Bassey too. But I love those 3 guys in particular on the Spurs. Jeremy Sohan is dude I've not been able to get right recently, so he'll probably go off after I'm not interested in him tonight. But I love those 3 Spurs plays on the Utah side of things. If you don't have Kelly Olynyk and you've just got a way thinner front court, where part of the thing with Walker Kessler that we dealt with early in the season is, foul trouble here and there, but also the way that they ran rotations. Like he just wasn't getting 30 minutes consistently at this point, end of the season. Jazz trade away a bunch of dudes. Like they want to make sure that he gets, his 30 minutes. If Kelly Olynyk's not there too to play potentially some minutes at the 5, they're not going to be playing Damian Jones big minutes by any means. So Walker Kessler, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, Taylor Horton-Tucker, like those 4 all look fantastic. So, I mean, I just named 7 dudes. And if I played those 7 dudes, I don't even know for sure if they fit, and you threw one off in there, I'm fine with 7 guys from this game. Those 7 guys are all awesome plays. I think Ajiba, I probably mispronouncing the dude from Kansas's name, but he's in play for
Ochai Abaji.
Yeah, what Crain said. I think that he's an all right value option. And, I think if Kelly Olynyk sits, you could see, I mean, it's probably going to be Juan Toscano-Anderson that gets the minutes, or Rudy Gay, and I'm not interested in either of them. One thing that I want to note before tossing it over to Glock after talking about how much I love this game, but so the Jazz signed Chris Dunn and Frank Jackson to 10-day contracts. Sometimes what we see when teams sign 2 dudes to a 10-day contract is they might like alternate which one of them plays. So if you look at the box score from last game, Frank Jackson didn't play at all for the Jazz, and I don't believe that either Frank Jackson or Chris Dunn are going to start, because they didn't start last game, and I thought that they might over THT. But I think you see them come off the bench, and I think because they're both on 10-day contracts, we see Frank Jackson today and not Chris Dunn. So if you're looking for a completely unowned bullet in like the big $15, I don't think that playing Frank Jackson is crazy for value. Or if you think that Dunn gets the run again, then I think that he looks solid his price tag too.
But nobody's playing Frank Jackson. No, nobody's playing Frank Jackson. And Danny Lassany, Chris Dunn love. I don't know. Glock, talk to me about Chris Dunn. Talk to me about this game. Like, what do we think here?
Yeah, I mean, Chris Dunn, it feels like he's been everywhere. Each team he's been on, it feels like anytime he's relevant for DFS, like somewhat relevant. No, I'm not saying like he's a starter or anything. It feels like someone that the DFS community has really tried to like just play, I guess. And I mean, it makes sense, right? Last game he came in, played 17 minutes, put up 17.75 fantasy points. So he was pretty productive when he was in there. But like Bobby said, when you are introducing these 10-day contract guys, you really don't know. Like, they're super volatile as it is. And you throw that on top of the Utah coach, who's already as hot hand approach as it could be. There's obviously a lot of risk involved, but there's a lot of opportunity as well. And with that said, I think obviously the most safe Utah plays, you're going to have 4 really safe Utah plays. Obviously, if Kelly Olynyk misses, right? Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, most likely, and then Taylor Horton-Tucker. And then that 5th guy is really just going to be hot hand approach of who's playing the best, I think, in my opinion, right? And we don't know who would get the start if Kelly Olynyk were to miss. My lean is actually Ochai Agbaji. Like, he's been a starter in the past. They can go a little smaller, just play Lauri at the 4, Ochai on the wings, and then THT on the other wing, and then Clarkson playing point. I think that is where I would lean, and it would totally make Ochai a fine value play for me if he were to start. But yeah, like I said, it's gonna be whoever closes the game. It's gonna be whoever's playing best, right? If Agbaji's in playing well, he's gonna close the game. If Juan Toscano-Anderson comes in and he's playing well, he'll probably close. Simone Fettuccini, whatever we like to call him, he could close. There's a bunch of guys that Utah can really roll with, and we've seen it a bunch, right? If you play DFS every night, you'll have Nickeil Alexander-Walker when he was on Utah. He was closing games over Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley when he was on Utah. So there's a lot of volatility there, but like I said, just bumping a Frank Jackson, like what Bobby said, 5-10%, you're going to be extremely overweight than anyone over the field. And when everyone's expecting Chris Dunn to play and Frank Jackson gets a look instead and he comes in and is productive, then boom, you're mint. So yeah, definitely love the Utah side for sure. And then on the San Antonio side, Trey Jones is already out, like we said, and then Keldon Johnson got that midday Q tag for an illness. And I've been kind of monitoring it, but like these illnesses are a lot more, you lean towards on the side that they're being out more so than it being like hip soreness or something like with your bones or your muscles and stuff like that. So that's definitely something to monitor. But obviously guys like Devontae Graham, Malachi Branham, Zach Collins, those guys are going to get the big boost if Keldon Johnson were to miss. And like we said, Trey Jones is already out, so you can already assume a pretty large role for a guy like Malachi Branham. Devontae Graham, he got the start last game. I don't know if that'll happen again. Maybe I think we need Keldon to be out for him to start again. But I love them both. Malachi Branham, Devontae Graham. I think someone asked if we could play them both together. I have them both in my placeholder right now. So definitely think you could do that. And then obviously Zach Collins, Charles Bassey, obviously he's just always super productive off the bench. So yeah, I think in general, this game is a great game to target. If you have multiple pieces from this game, it's going to allow you flexibility to move around based on the Keldon Johnson news. So I don't think that should be too much of a problem. So yeah, love this game a lot for sure. And I marked it as elite in the playbook. So should tell you where I'm at for that.
All right, guys, we made it through. It's been a lot of fun, but we need to hear first your plays of the day. Bobby, play of the day. Who you got?
I'm between two guys. Glock, are you ready to roll? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I'm also between two guys. I need the Crain approval here.
Oh boy.
Can I just flag playing Jokic? Like, I
mean, okay, so here's the problem. All right, there is a big problem with that. That's what I was gonna do.
Oh.
So
okay.
Go to the
if you're doing Jokic, I'm gonna go with my other guy. And it's gonna be Malachi Branham. I see Franz Wagner popping a ton at that shooting guard position, and I'd rather just get into that San Antonio Utah game. I'm gonna go in Malachi Branham, and I'm gonna fade Franz Wagner. That'll be my flag plan of the day.
All right. Obviously, as I just gave away, I'm going with Nikola Jokic because he's got one of the best matchups on the slate. He's going to be under whatever percent he is. It's going to be less than he should be. And I understand the value is at center. I also don't care because I'm going to play the dude who's going to get 80, and I'm going to print some money with it. Bobby, play the day. Who you got?
I was between Branham, and I was trying to look up Lauri Markkanen's ownership, who I was going to have as my play of the day, but he's projected to be pretty chalky.
Ooh, Branham. So, you were on Branham. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I was between Branham and Lauri Markkanen. So I'll pick a dude that's not as high owned. I mean, Lauri Markkanen was going to be my play of the day. I thought he was a titch lower owned than he actually is. So, I'll go, I'll go with Paolo Banchero. I think that this spot against Indiana, he's due for a big game. So I like him as a low one play.
Fun fact before you close it out, Crain, about Malachi Branham. He went to St. Vincent St. Mary's High School. Who is the other player?
LeBron James. LeBron's
school. Him and LeBron are the only players in the NBA from currently from the high school.
Wait. Drew Joyce never made it to the NBA?
I guess not.
Who?
I'm saying current players.
That was LeBron's buddy, Drew Joyce. He was like all over the place. I think that was his name. I don't know. Pretty sure. Somebody in the comments will tell me if I'm wrong. I am sure. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Check us out over at runpuresports.com. We got a lot going on. We got the heat maps. We got golf. We got baseball coming up. The baseball, by the way, I'm just going to call it right now. We're going to absolutely smash baseball this year. Why am I saying that? Because I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff with baseball. So it's going to go good. It's going to go good for us tonight. For Glock, for Bobby, I'm Eric. Thank you for watching, everybody. We will catch you later. Peace.